Hello Dungeon Divers, Dungeon D here, once again to, what else? Go dungeon diving. Well, it's December, and although I prefer to keep these videos timeless and, quote, evergreen, unquote, December means only one thing to Gentiles like me: Christmas! Yay, Christmas! A time for thinking about oneself and all the cool toys you're going to get. Assuming your parents aren't poor or you just enjoy living in a state of total denial. I mean, come on, we were all kids once. We know what Christmas is really all about. Christmas makes me feel nostalgic, and as a kid growing up in the 80s, video games were usually the only things on my mind, especially the possibility of getting a new console. And it's for that reason that I've been digging into the depths of dungeons long since past, and uncovering games I might have missed along the way. To get a feel for today's video, we have to set the Wayback Machine to the late 80s, a time when NEC had taken a big chance on a new system featuring graphics capabilities that were supposed to eat Nintendo's lunch, while simultaneously beating SEGA to the 16-bit punch. Unfortunately, they soon found out that things weren't going to go the way they thought they would. Long story short, the TG-16 wound up an early casualty in the raging 16-bit console war and was more or less forgotten about until many, many years later when I would finally stumble upon one in a used game shop and begin collecting games for it. So here we go. With me feeling nostalgic for the late 80s and morbidly curious to see the way things might have been if I'd gotten my hands on one back in the day, I have decided to dive into the TurboGrafx library and see things from another perspective. And being that dungeon crawlers have always been my preferred genre to play, Double Dungeons seems like a good, if mediocre, place to start. Now, just for the sake of full disclosure, I do in fact own a TurboGrafx 16 and a copy of Double Dungeons. However, lacking a capture card, I've opted to use emulation to do the screen capture for this video. Also, I will not be utilizing quick saves or any other technical wizardry beyond what the original hardware can do, except for taking breaks between sessions. As it turns out, Double Dungeons does have a password system, enabling a degree of save scumming built into the game. However, it is a cumbersome process, as you will see. Therefore, again, I'm going to be playing the game largely as I would have on the original hardware. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, jumping right in, we've got our loading title screen here, Double Dungeons with a big giant W for some weird reason. Starting off at Dungeon 1, Level 1. I was going to enter the name Cheddar Goblin, but as you'll see, I didn't quite have enough letters, so my name is Cheddar. The king dispatched the warrior to the dungeon in order to find the kingdom's missing treasure. It's not missing, it's somewhere in this dungeon. Whatever. Green slime encountered. Experience points. This isn't exactly a roguelike in the sense of auto-generated levels. They're pre-generated levels. They're kind of like the same layout every single time. The enemies are in the same place every single time. It's dangerous here! Killer bee. Attack of the killer bees. Wu-Tang is for the children. Oh, hey, maybe that's what the W was for at the beginning of the game on the title screen. Apple, you've got it. Apple was used. I love that your weapon is a dagger and your armor is a pan lid. Here we are, we're now at level 2. HP is 28. The next level will occur at 26 experience points. Currently we have 18. Alright, and at this point I think I'm probably going to do a lot of jump cutting because this game is, if nothing else, it's extremely repetitive. The walls are just plain white, there's no landmarks. Other than the enemies don't really move around. They are the same enemies, they spawn in the same place every time you go through here. There's only a couple of exceptions. There's a hawk and the marsh snakes. The marsh snake, you don't want to mess with those. They will kill you. They are very difficult. And at one point, a marsh snake will be in my way, in my direct path, and the only way to get past it is to kill it, which is very difficult, especially when you're a lower level. character. What's nice though is once you've eliminated those enemies, they're gone for good. They don't come back. It contains refresh. Do you want to take it? Well, yes, of course. Why would I not take it? Give me the refresh. Refresh is basically just a magical item that restores all of your hit points, so very useful. Spider. Death Spider attacks. Think. Has he learned his lesson? I'm not sure if they mean the monster or me. I think they mean me. Alright. And turn around, and there's a sorcerer. This is a good opportunity. Okay, cool. Cheddar attacks. Your response is outstanding. Sorcerer attacks. Think. Sorcerer attacks. Sorcerer is conquered. Alright, so this is the unicorn key. We need to use this to get to the last boss enemy. At a point you're going to come to a door that is locked, and that is going to be where the mime, the boss monster, is hanging out. And when I say it's a mime, I mean trust me, it's going to make even less sense when you actually see it. But we need this unicorn key. And I should point out, I'm not using a map at this point. I am genuinely lost and just luckily stumbled onto the big treasure that you need. You need the unicorn key to beat this labyrinth, this level. So that's good luck for me. As you will find out as you play this game, every time you start from fresh every time you go into a dungeon. So there's no saving or leveling up your character over the course of the game. It's just pretty much you go in and you start from zero with a dagger and a pan lid. Also, if you notice in the interface there is a star and a moon. I don't know what those are about. I don't know what they're for. I assume some sort of magic. Maybe later in the game. That'll make sense. Okay, and at this point I think I'm going to make our first jump cut to a feature that I want to show off is the shop, where you can upgrade your weapons and buy magical potions that you can buy refresh, you can buy apples, you can buy... There's a number of things here, and this will be very important because basically the only way you're going to beat the boss is by upgrading your items. So this is where that would occur. Alright, so for the next 30 minutes or so, it's basically just me grinding by going back and forth through the same enemies that I've killed over and over again. I take on the bigger enemies like the hawk and the marsh snake, just to get up enough money and enough experience points to get to about level 12, buy enough potions that I can sustain myself over the boss fight, and upgrade to the best weapons and armor available. The only other feature in this dungeon is the inn, which costs 100 gold and refreshes your hit points, which you definitely want to do before you go in to face the boss. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to skip all that and jump to the end. But right before we do that, I just want to show you that at any point if you hit the start button, or what is the run button on the TurboGrafx 16, you come up with this password. And what this password does is it saves your state. You can jump right back to this point with same weapons, same stats, everything is as you left it. It's just as if you were pressing quick load on an emulator, which is nice but cumbersome because it's kind of a long password. But it would enable you to jump right back to this very point if you wanted to save scum, or basically try again after being killed, after facing a large enemy or whatever, making a poor decision, whatever you would use that for. In this case, it allows me to jump back to this point, even though I won't be doing that because, as you'll see in this boss fight, I have a lot of grinding left to go before I'm ready to face the mime again. I am definitely not equipped to fight this guy. He is hammering me for up to 30-40 hit points at a time. I'm hitting him for one or two mostly at a time, and he's just walloping me. I stocked up on apples thinking that was going to sustain me, and it definitely does not. One thing I will note is that you can basically back out of this fight at any time. If I just hit the down button, I can just back right out of this fight and then go grind up some more. But I want to demonstrate what it looks like when you die. So this is not gonna. I'm basically done at this point. Dead. Cheetah is dead. That is how that goes. So as you can see, back to the beginning, back to starting fresh. I lost all my gold, but I keep my level and I keep my weapons, which is cool. Because I don't have to go back and get those again. But as you can see, definitely that fight did not go the way I wanted it to. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead to the end after doing some grinding, buying some potions, and making sure I've got the best of everything so that I can take this guy on, and let's see what that looks like. And here we are at the door leading into the boss. Level 12, I've got long sword and wooden armor, the best of everything. I've got as many potions as I can carry. I am ready to use the unicorn key to walk through this door and nail this guy to the wall. Boom! And there it is. The mime is conquered. Ha ha ha. I wonder if they meant mimic. Now that I'm looking at this thing, I think what they meant to say was that the treasure was a mimic. Either way, the main point is we defeated him. He's done for. It says that was the end of scenario 1, and then it gives us a password input number 1, which is 2. It took me a while to understand what that meant. I had to do some research, and it turns out there's 22 dungeons in this game, but the only way to get into the final dungeon is with a password, and that was the first character of the password. Basically, you fight through each of these dungeons in succession, and you get another piece of the password as you defeat each boss at the end of each dungeon. And then you get to face the final dungeon, the final boss, etc., etc. Let's go ahead and hit run and get the end of the story here. An imprisoned mime had cast a spell. With the warrior's hard work, the treasure is now returned to the king. Push any button. Yay! The king gets a treasure, and I get a password piece that I use to battle the final dungeon eventually. No reward? Nothing? No? That's... wow, not even like an end graphic? Talk about your basic bare bones dungeon crawler. So that was double dungeons, at least the first dungeon. Here are all the dungeons you can go through. As you can see, each one, eventually they start leveling you up higher and higher just to get you started because they increase in difficulty and in size. Unfortunately, you don't really get to save your character from dungeon to dungeon. You start from fresh each time you begin, as I'm demonstrating here. You go into this next dungeon and you're starting back at the beginning. Level 1, HP 24, gold 0, no experience points, a dagger and a pan lid, and a whole new dungeon to explore. So Let me know in the comments. Do you have any good memories of this game? Did you own a TG16 back in the day? What was known as the PC engine? Were you one of those kids that had all of the systems, all the consoles, or did you have to choose between like the Super Nintendo or the Genesis when those came out? Or did you go from the NES to the TurboGrafx 16? Or was the TurboGrafx 16 perhaps your first introduction to console? Let me know. I think we could have an interesting conversation about things that might have been if the TurboGrafx had come out on top and reigned supreme throughout the early 90s console war. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks for joining, and subscribe and like for more. Thanks for watching.